You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday, happy Mercury Day, and happy New Year. I know it's January 18th, but now that Mercury is direct, we can start to gain more clarity about the year ahead. So we're going to be talking all about the end of Mercury retrograde, how we can really use the potent energy today. We're not just talking about Mercury retrograde this Mercury Day. There's a very potent transit that is illuminating the transformation we're undergoing and the potential for rebirth as the sun comes into a conjunction with Pluto today. And then, of course, the moon is in Sagittarius, bringing an element of faith, optimism, and trust in the path ahead. Elena is here. Hello. Hi, Katie. Hey, Rachel. Happy Wednesday to you, Corby. I want to get a check on the birthdays on this January 18th. Celebrating the final couple days of Capricorn season through the end of this week. Kevin Costner is a Capricorn. Dave Bautista, he's in lots of Marvel movies. Cary Grant. Who else? Jason Segel. Anyone else popping out to you? Of course, if you are a Capricorn, if you know someone celebrating their solar return today, give them a shout out in the comments so we can send them some love too. Rachel says she is feeling ready to push forward. And that is the energy that we're really feeling. We only have one planet currently retrograde. Let's actually just get a check on the current energy right now. We have one planet still retrograde, and that is Uranus. And Uranus will station direct on Sunday, the day after the new moon. So I'm still standing by the fact that I really think this new moon marks the new beginning, the new year. It is the Lunar New Year in many cultures. So we're still in this phase of reflection, pause, ending. Remember, as Mercury stations direct, we still experience a shadow period for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. So you might not feel like going guns blazing just yet. The new moon will really feel like that fresh start, that opportunity for a new beginning, especially next week as Uranus stations direct. And then all planets will be direct until the middle of April. So between January 22nd, I'm already getting ahead of myself, and April, I think it's April 21st, we have this very potent period of forward motion, getting the ball rolling on things, really making moves towards our New Year's resolutions, towards the projects we want to work on, and the goals we have for ourselves this year. Katie says she's been thinking about loving fiercely, doing the hard things, saying the difficult words, not ruling with an iron fist, as that is born out of fear, but loving beyond fear. Beautiful words on a day where the Capricorn sun is conjunct Pluto. Hey, Nick. Yeah, feeling the push to get things moving and going. I'm right there with you, Corby. Right there with you. Rachel says, so thankful for the review time, but the weight has definitely been lifted. Yeah, so let's talk about the end of Mercury retrograde. Mercury stationed direct this morning at 5:12 a.m. Pacific time, so just after 8 a.m. Eastern time. I'll let you do the math wherever else you live. And again, I always like to warn you, or not even warn you, that seems kind of intense, but remind you that we are in a shadow period. So on a day like today where we have a Mercury station, Mercury is at a standstill. Yes, there's a lot of excitement collectively. There's a lot of buzz. I'm sure if you follow astrologers on Instagram or anybody really spiritual now on Instagram, everyone is talking about the end of Mercury retrograde. But it's okay if you are not quite in a space where you are feeling like a ton of clarity coming through just yet. Give it a couple days, maybe even a couple weeks. This is a powerful day to really sink into the review process that has been happening for the past 2-ish weeks since December 28th when Mercury did station retrograde. So as Mercury is at a standstill, and with the Sun conjunct Pluto, the term that comes to mind is being in this liminal space, this space of pause, and in this slowdown, in this middle point between death and rebirth, between releasing and starting, we can gain some clarity if we're willing to just really sink into the pause, especially with Mercury in Capricorn. Mercury will be in Capricorn still for a couple more weeks as it now stations direct again, starts moving forward through Capricorn. And it's really a time to be practical, slow down, think things through. So lots more insightful ideas, innovative ideas will come as Mercury moves into Aquarius in a couple weeks during Aquarius season. Remember, Mercury retrograde forced us to slow down, tap into our patience. Today on this station, we have a moment to even just review how our mindset has changed, the lessons that we learned during Mercury retrograde. It feels like today's a day where closure and completion are possible. So taking a practical look and, thinking about the long term with Mercury and Capricorn, how do we want to move forward using the things that we learned during our review over the past couple weeks? This also feels like a great day to maybe set some goals, some New Year's resolutions. I know I have been holding off because I was very attuned to the fact that the energy was not great for New Year's resolutions right around New Year's Day. So if you feel like you were late to the game or you missed an opportunity to set New Year's resolutions today, or even waiting until the new moon in Aquarius, starting to kind of think and vision and really setting those intentions on the new moon feels very potent and much more aligned than just relying on the Gregorian calendar, right? Elena says, Mercury retrograde had brought so much up from the past, wonderful and sad things. I'm right there with you, Elena. I'm glad it's almost over. I'm ready for the energy to move forward. Yeah. And what's really something to keep in mind, Mercury retrograde is notorious for people from the past popping back up, especially with Mercury and Capricorn. Like, Capricorn's all about time. So people from the past might have entered your mind or even popped back into communication with you, with Mercury being the planet of mindset and communication. I know I had a friend reach out to me who I hadn't talked to in years. I had a reconnection with someone who passed during Mercury retrograde who hadn't been part of my life for a really long time. But I won't get into the whole spiritual woo-woo side of it, but I feel like there's a stronger connection now than I've had in a long time. So you might have noticed past patterns, past people, past thoughts, past beliefs popping back up over the past couple weeks and really forcing you to review lessons that maybe you thought you'd already learned. How can you use that data, that intel that came through during Mercury retrograde now to inform the intentions and resolutions that you're setting for the new year? Elena says Mercury's been retrograde in her first house, hitting her north node, Uranus, and Neptune. Yeah, so Mercury retrograde for you moving through your first house might have brought a lot of questions. Remember, Mercury can bring up questions and reviewing of patterns of like, who am I? How do I want to show up in the world? What is my purpose, especially with it hitting your north node? What direction am I going? And then Uranus and Neptune might have brought some confusion, some innovation, some change, some insight. And that's a great reminder. Thank you, Elena. Why I love the co-creation of a live stream so much. To take a look at where 8 to about 22 degrees of Capricorn falls in your chart. That is the area that will likely have had the most reflection or awareness during Mercury retrograde. So especially today, looking at where does 8 degrees of Capricorn fall in my chart? Which house does it fall in? Are there any other planets opposing it, squaring it, making angles to it that are really influencing how this Mercury retrograde has gone for me? Rachel says, I feel like some lessons that have come up for me during Mercury retrograde is realizing patterns within myself that I want to break with my relationships. Pushing forward, I plan to be really mindful in how I'm showing up in my relationships and doing things differently. Breaking those patterns might help finding that stability that I crave during this 4th house transit. Yeah, maybe even generational patterns coming up for you. If you have Capricorn ruling your 4th house, or this Mercury retrograde moving through your 4th house, maybe beliefs that you inherited from your parents, or really just any sort of review of how you create stability for yourself and how you relate to your family. Oh yeah, Elena had that date over the weekend. He knows someone I lived next to when I was 3. That is such a classic Mercury retrograde occurrence, right? Like, oh, how did you know that person from my past, linking back into my present? Weird. Oh, and Elena's date went well. All the energy we sent must have worked. That was obviously why. Happy for you, Elena. So yes, Mercury is now direct, moving forward. We won't have another Mercury retrograde until I believe April. So lots of forward motion that we're going to be feeling in the coming week or so. Just give yourself a little grace, have a little patience. Mercury is still in Capricorn after all, and the sun. So have patience if it's, it's still not the time to just jump straight into something. Even though the moon is in Sagittarius, I know we're all feeling a little more spontaneous and optimistic and excited. I'm still standing by the advice, wait until the new moon. Wow, Katie, this is out there. You know I love out there. I felt my dad's spirit yesterday pushing me to be harsh. I told him I'm keeping the love and the harshness belongs to him. Yeah, that's so interesting. So interesting. And maybe, it's the reminder to have boundaries and be firm, but I love that you have that awareness. Like, I want to do it differently. This is who I want to be. I appreciate you and the lessons you taught me, but this is how I'm going to be. I love that reflection, Katie. I love that. Okay, but we can't talk about the potency of this day without talking about the Sun-Pluto conjunction, otherwise known as Pluto Cazimi. So this happened exactly at about 6:45 this morning Pacific time, so just before 10 a.m. Eastern time. Pluto passed through the heart of the sun. This is a really powerful transit. The word powerful keeps coming up, but Pluto is the planet of power, the planet of death and rebirth. And we experience this Sun-Pluto conjunction once a year. In fact, last year it was on January 16th. We will see one more Sun-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn that will be in 2024. And then never again in our lifetime. So for a second, I thought, oh, this is the last one. No, Pluto's going to move back into Capricorn after it moves into Aquarius. So don't get too excited just yet. I will say next year's Sun-Pluto conjunction will be at 29 degrees. So you can plan a year out, but that's something we'll be talking about in a year from now that will likely be even more intense than this Sun-Pluto conjunction. But you can see on the chart, both the Sun and Pluto are at 28 degrees of Capricorn. So another place in your chart to look at maybe what's being transformed for you right now. Let's talk about this conjunction. So a conjunction is kind of the merging of energies, and Pluto represents what lies beneath, our shadows, the subconscious, the subliminal. The sun is our consciousness shining light on things. So this conjunction really feels like it's illuminating our shadows, illuminating our fears, illuminating our depths, illuminating our darkness. And the sun is also associated with our ego. So, ego deaths are certainly possible with the sun conjunct Pluto, or just a rebirth of yourself. If you have been somebody who's been proclaiming like new year, new me, I haven't seen too much of that going around, but like I started this forecast, Happy New Year. You know, it really does feel like this rebirth energy, or at least on this day, that we are right in the midst of that death rebirth process. So you might be experiencing a transformation of self, maybe a transformation of your long-term goals with this conjunction happening in Pluto, a transformation of your subconscious desires. This transit collectively, because Pluto is such a collective placement, can bring about a massive shift in consciousness as well. But it's a reminder that in order to step into the light, push forward, as so many of us are excited to do, we must also face our darkness. We must also embrace what fears, limiting beliefs are holding us back, or maybe even keeping us safe. Capricorn energy likes us to be safe and secure. So as we've been really reflecting on the Capricorn area of our chart during Capricorn season, you know, feelings of safety, security might have come up, and this Sun-Pluto conjunction feels like an opportunity to take what we've learned and step into our next evolution. So today might be a day where you feel like you're going deep, plummeting into the depths of yourself, maybe shedding some old layers still. It is still the waning moon, which we'll get into in a moment, but it's also this glimmer of hope, this glimmer of light that in this shedding process, we're preparing to be reborn. We're preparing to become new again under the Aquarius new moon. I really love this Sun-Pluto conjunction. It's definitely not the most flowery, pretty transit to talk about, but my Scorpio moon is like, yes, let's go. Let's shine the light on our depths, you know. Nick says, I got up, went to the flea market today. He's really feeling that energy. And Pluto is your ruling planet, Nick, if you're a Scorpio rising. So this energy today probably feels really good for you. Keep trying to cut back, but I've been dreaming about the old military junk out there on the days I didn't go. Well, good for you, taking some time to do something you love. Amazing sleep. Happy for you, Nikki. Yes. The Aquarius enters the chat. We are all ready for the Aquarius energy. It's coming. It's coming. Happening right on your 4th and 5th house cusp. That feels just like letting go of past patterns in order to step into creativity, joy, and more passion in your life. That feels very much like death and rebirth energy for you, Rachel, like letting go of old stories, of the need for security from other people in order to find that in yourself and find that joy and passion again. Yeah, and there's no pressure to do New Year's resolutions either. It's an invitation, but, you know, I will say, Nick says, I gave up doing New Year's resolutions because of the power outage at the beginning of the year when the storm happened. Hello, Mercury Retrograde. Hello, massive storms wiping out power, creating travel issues, creating communication issues, internet issues, all during Mercury Retrograde. So if you feel like you were encountering obstacles or blocks to starting something or setting resolutions or visioning the new year, thank you, Mercury Retrograde, for helping me wait for the ideal time to start planning ahead for the year. Yeah, we're all excited for that Aquarius energy. And that Aquarius is the visionary, you know, that's the energy to envision the new year enders. So if you're not already signed up, we're going to be meeting on Saturday under the Aquarius new moon. And I'm sure we'll all be setting intentions together and really working with the moon, using it to our advantage, I should say. Okay, so some powerful energy we're working with today. Now let's talk about what's going on with the waning crescent moon in Sagittarius. An invitation to surrender and find freedom in the release, to let go and trust in the unknown, to lean into that inherent optimism that we all have. It's a part of all of us, and just let go of the need to control, the need to like move forward. I know we got a lot of energy. We're all excited about the future, but we're still in a place of pause and release and shedding and letting go for the next couple of days. So just really, I feel like after this weekend, it is going to be full steam ahead, all planets moving direct. So soak in the last couple days of Capricorn season, of slowness, of stillness, of reflection while we have them, and play in that a little bit. Have fun in that phase a little bit with this waning crescent moon. Okay, right as Mercury was stationing direct and Pluto and the sun were meeting up, the moon harmonized with Chiron. This was at 6 a.m. Pacific time. So a lot of the realizations that many of us have been having today, a lot of the reflection we've been doing, likely feels very healing. There's really this natural ability to find healing and release today under this trine between the moon and Chiron, just adding another layer of beauty and awareness to the energy we're already feeling of death and rebirth, of releasing to renew. There is healing in the letting go and in the surrender. Corby says, yes, with the timing. I needed this delay to really rethink and review everything I want to do to start this year. Beautiful. Perfect timing. It always is, right? Feel like things are about to take off after these shifts. Going to take advantage of this rest time while I can. Exactly. I'm feeling the exact same way. So lots of healing potential today. We have 2 more connections to talk about that are happening tonight under the Sagittarius moon. So 6 p.m. Pacific time, the moon will form a sextile to Venus. You can already see that starting to play out here. When the moon hits 19 degrees, it will form a sextile to Venus. Venus is now getting pretty close to Saturn as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Lessons in love, lessons in money, lessons in relationship are likely going to come up for a lot of us over the next week too. Another reason to really just sit in this stillness, take in this slowness, to integrate the lessons that many of us have been learning during Mercury retrograde. But back to the moon, the sextile between the moon and Venus allows us to lean into love, to open to receiving, to align with manifestation, finding beauty in the breakdown and opening ourselves to trusting in whatever we're meant to receive next. We are more optimistic under the Sagittarius moon about our ability to connect with other people as it connects with Venus, the planet of relationships, and also trusting that we can call in what we want to manifest. If there is a planet, or at least one of the planets I most associate with manifestation, it would be Venus, love, money, and beauty, the things all of us want to manifest, right? So calling in what we want to manifest by leaning into love, leaning into our ability to receive. And it really feels like as the moon connects with Venus in Aquarius, the sign of the visionary, holding the vision for what we want to create after the new moon, as the year really gets going, as planets station direct, like this feels like a time to be optimistic and hold the vision about what you want to call in and what intentions you want to set under the new moon. It's interesting. I feel like all the energy today, I keep like saying the same things, but it's all supporting the same message of being in this place of letting go and holding the vision for the future. Yeah, have some faith, go with the flow. Definitely a vibe of the Sagittarius moon. Rachel says, honestly, showing up authentically with my family came up again yesterday. A lot of fear coming up, but I feel like this is aligned with the 4th and 5th house. Absolutely. Hold on to my truth, be myself. And I think that's a reminder too that, Rachel, when you are in joy, when you are in creativity, when you are just being magnetic and having fun, it's easier for people to see like, oh, I get why she's doing things differently. What's she doing over there? What's she taking? What's she drinking? I want some of that, like, so your playfulness, your joy, your creativity will maybe even help your family see why you're doing the things you're doing without you having to overly explain yourself. Just something to keep in mind. Yeah, Diane says, feeling slow today, tired, trying not to beat myself up over it, enjoying this last day of needing that little break. And Diane, remember, your ruling planet as a Gemini rising is Mercury too, just like those of us who have Virgo risings. So we really feel Mercury retrograde energy. And Mercury is at a standstill today. It is not freaking moving, or at least it doesn't look like it's moving from our vantage point here on Earth. So yeah, you might feel tired. You might be really feeling this station. There's kind of this pressure, it feels like, at least on my end, to, okay, Mercury's direct. Where are we going? What are we doing? Give yourself permission to just be in that break, you know? Okay, and the final transit we'll talk about today is a square between the moon and Neptune. This happens right around midnight. We're having lots of Neptune transits right around midnight lately. And this square between the moon and Neptune, it's a clashing of energies, right? 23 degrees, the moon in Sagittarius, Neptune in Pisces. And I see this showing up in a few different ways. Kind of depends on what time it is, where you live when this is happening, but this is going to be late tonight. And when the moon squares Neptune, confusion, delusion are possible. We might feel especially tired tonight, like just really needing to go to sleep, almost like having a hard time staying awake. Most of us will probably just crash hard, go straight into dreamland, check out into our subconscious late tonight. However, with the moon in Sagittarius, sometimes there's this tendency to like, I just want to stay up a little later. I just want to party a little more. I just want to get a little more out of the day, right? So if you're trying to like burn the midnight oil or keep the party going, you could find yourself falling down a deep rabbit hole, not thinking clearly, falling into delusions, being confused. I would just say go to sleep tonight. Like, don't try to push yourself too hard. Neptune is going to force us to want to go into an alternate state. So you might as well just channel this into sleep. Maybe even some surprising dreams when the moon clashes with Neptune, the planet of dreams. It might be surprising, abrupt, harsh dreams. I don't see them being dark, but just kind of like, whoa, that was weird and very vivid. And like, did that carry a message, or was that just my brain firing off random neurons? So that could come up for you tonight too. Going for a healing session tomorrow, lots of detox. Beautiful for the energy that we're feeling right now, especially with the sun. We'll still be feeling that Sun-Pluto conjunction really through the end of the week. And so detox, release before the new moon, definitely favored. Nick already crashed and took a nap this morning. Nick says, Diane, just take a nap. Yeah, naps are the best. Did not appreciate it enough as a kid. As adults, we realize so much more the value of rest. Yeah. And the moon squaring Neptune tonight could be that like, hey, if you didn't give your body enough rest today, you're going to crash hard tonight. But yeah, I remember being a kid in like preschool and there'd be nap time and I would resist it so hard. Like I wouldn't want to take a nap. I just want to stay up through my nap. I'm like, could you imagine now? I mean, I know some cultures do this, but could you imagine you're just like working at your 9 to 5 and halfway through the day, it's like, okay, everybody get out your mat. It's nap time. Just curl up in your cubicle and let's all take some rest. Just not part of our culture, but maybe it should be. Maybe it should be. Yeah, Neptune coming in to help you sleep. Definitely. Neptune bringing the rest. Katie says, really vivid dreams last night. After speaking with my dad's spirit, he came to me in a dream to say happy birthday. Katie, when is your actual birthday? We need to know this. We need to know. We didn't miss it, did we? Remind me. My brain is like having a hard time remembering. That's beautiful though. Loved ones coming to us in dreams. I love that. When we allow the confines of our rational mind to be blurred, we can often connect with people in other places. Next week. Okay. Don't forget to remind us so we can all wish you a happy birthday. 24th for me, Elsie is the 26th. Okay, Katie's the 24th, Elsie is the 26th. All right. Yeah, these dreams are always the coolest, but also feel strange coming out of when you converse with those on the other side. Yeah, there can kind of be that grief that it provokes again, like, oh, they were right there, and then I woke up and remembered they're not there anymore, right? But it's still cool that we can, as we tap into our own spirituality, have relationships with people who are not in our physical realm anymore. I love that side of spirituality personally. My Venus in the 12th house is like, let me just have relationships with people in other realms. All right, let's come back to our affirmation of the day. I surrender to my transformation. We're in this state of surrender, of letting go, of release, and there's a lot of alchemy today. So just surrendering to it, finding that stillness, not forcing anything, letting things unfold. as they are supposed to. Ah, Rachel says, when I was a kid, I had a lot of anxiety sleeping in other people's houses. I don't know if it's a Scorpio moon thing. I didn't necessarily have that, and I have a Scorpio moon, but I know a lot of people experience that. I think it's just not being in a comfortable environment. It's harder to relax and rest. So yeah. And often as adults, we don't experience that as much as we do with kids, right? Like we're not often sleeping at other people's houses as much, I think, as we did. It's not a thing. Like when we're hanging out with our friends, we're not like, I'm just going to stay the night like we did as kids. Yeah, Diane had that too. Nikki has her Venus in the 12th too. I love that. So yes, I surrender to my transformation. I surrender to my transformation. And we'll finish up today with a card pull from my very favorite deck, the Lightworker Oracle by Alana Fairchild. This is the deck I always go to when I'm looking for deeper guidance. The descriptions are pretty long, but it's always so powerful. And I know I have a very powerful day ahead personally, so I'm looking for some deeper guidance today, and as the sun comes into a conjunction with Pluto, as Mercury is at a standstill, I think this is the perfect day to receive some powerful messages. Yeah, nap time was not fun for Rachel either. Didn't want to sleep anywhere but home. That makes sense. That makes sense. So cool, but also so strange connecting with our loved ones on the other side, Katie says. It was really beautiful, though. I wonder if those who have passed on can heal. My understanding, and I am not a medium, I am not an expert on this, Katie, is that when we pass on, we're not really carrying a lot of the wounds that we carried as humans. So at least that's what I feel. There's this understanding of oneness and the fact that only love is real, and we're not really stuck in the stories of our human existence still. One of my relatives, both of her parents died within 6 months of each other, and she went and saw a medium, and her mother was a severe alcoholic who died from liver failure, and the medium, channeled the fact that a lot of times addicts, and this is something that her mother was experiencing on the other side, when they pass on, they often help other people who were deep in addiction transition to the other side too, because again, this is just my understanding. I'm not an expert on this, and is anybody really, but the way it was described to her was that there are kind of different levels of the afterlife, and a lot of people who had a lot of trauma or hardship can have a harder time passing over. And so people play different roles on the other side, helping people transition, helping people in that healing process to come to a full place of rest and peace. So to answer your question, yes, I think so. That's what I think. That's what I feel. There's just kind of more of a purity to our souls after we're no longer confined to this dense 3D world. Yeah, Diane says, I believe they can heal. I had a close friend pass a few years ago suddenly, and I dreamed of them, conversing with them. I believe I conversed with them on the other side, and the convo was very healing. Beautiful. I love that. I also love that we're talking so much about death today. When the sun is conjunct Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, we're very aware of mortality, aware of death. Again, my Scorpio moon is just living for this right now. But death is part of life. It is, our culture doesn't really like to have these discussions, but I think even just talking about death can be very healing on this day when the moon is harmonizing with Chiron, the planet of healing, or the asteroid of healing, I should say. Wow. Diane says after that, she stopped having nightmares of them and their passing. We basically had an unaddressed situation at the time of his passing, and I felt peace after that conversation. Amazing. Yes, Katie says, I think bonds can be broken from the living and the dead. That would be healing. Yeah, I could see that. I love that perspective. Yeah. Hope my father is in a better place in a lot of ways, Nick says. he was a better person than I am. I just got to keep trying to be a better person. I think also, Nick, knowing that he's supporting you and he probably thinks you're an amazing person. So not being so hard on yourself. And also, I think it's another thing that we do. We like really glorify people after they pass on. It's just something I think our culture does and a lot of humans do. I'm sure your dad was just a human living a human experience just like you, who had his own struggles and is now on the other side supporting you through yours and sending you love every step of the way. Katie says, speaking of death, I love talking to people with different cultures, like her Vietnamese friend, and their rituals related to death. Western society is largely out of touch. I would agree. I think with this wave of spirituality, though, a lot more people are getting in tune with different practices that connect them with their ancestors and to people on the other side. So I'm hopeful. For the coming years. Yeah, like ethereal cord cutting, keeping memories but cutting any cords that maintain a toxic bond. Oof. Yes to that, Diane. Absolutely. Rachel says, my friend's dad died a couple years ago and she asked me if I could read his chart. And when I did, she resonated with most of what I said. I feel like it was really healing for her and it was cool to see it. Yes. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do after somebody, whether it's somebody I knew or a celebrity, passes on. Feels like a really beautiful way to honor them, to better understand them, to understand their light, to understand their darkness, their struggles, their strengths, and to see in a snapshot of the stars maybe what their purpose was during their time here on Earth. Totally normal to glorify the dead. I'm sure your dad is so proud of you, Nick. Yeah, I'm sure he is too. Yes, not a toxic relationship, just toxic holding on to something that can no longer be. Beautiful. Ooh, I'm going to check in with the transits in my dad's chart. Yeah, you might find some new insight about him. I love this conversation, everybody. Okay, let's go ahead and pull a card. We'll take a nice deep breath together, whether you're joining me live right now or you're finding this video later, just giving yourself a nice moment of pause, even just for a breath to sink into the stillness of this day. Here we go. Breathing in and release. What do we need to know? Dark Night of the Soul is the card that came through. Yeah, well, that feels very Sun conjunct Pluto, being aware of our darkness, the Dark Night of the Soul card. We've pulled this card too from this deck together. Card number 16, if 16 is an important number to you, definitely a message for you. And here is the message. You are ready for a more real and radiant relationship with the divine. Your preconceived ideas and safe limiting beliefs may be sacrificed in order for this to happen. To the divine, these are the only clothing of your spirit. They are impediments to the absolute intimacy the divine seeks within you. You might feel vulnerable or uncertain as the divine goes about stripping away these barriers. This is when you enter the dark night of the soul. You understand there is nothing to rely upon but the divine, and you will find it difficult to trust at times. This night will end, however, and the sweetness of the divine dawning in your heart shall render all worthwhile. But for now, you are meant to feel exactly as you feel. You are not doing something wrong. You are moving closer to the divine. Even though you are already on a spiritual path this lifetime, you can go deeper. Okay, Pluto. Sometimes people know this, and yet they are afraid. Familiar with emotional drama, they are hesitant to let go of what they know, even if that is emotional suffering and mental anguish. That fear prevents them from being willing to trust in the loving hand reaching out to them. It might seem silly, yet letting go of fear to take hold of the hand of love can be extraordinarily difficult. If you don't trust that love will hold you, letting go can seem like allowing yourself to fall into an abyss. A feeling of madness may plague you as you wonder if you are sane to leave a known world behind and enter into the darkness of your own doubt and fear. You sense that the old self and the familiar ways will not survive this dark night. Even if you know in your heart that this sort of spiritual death is an opening to new life, it can still be profoundly confronting. The only way to end the dark night is to go through it, to endure it, and to know that although you will not understand how it could be possible, it will transform itself into the sweetest grace. In time, you shall be on your knees, not in despairing prayer, dearest child of love, but in gratitude, peace, and devotion. Though it begins as a challenge, the dark night of the soul will become a saving grace. Love knows you are ready. No matter what you may think at this moment of struggle, you are ready to take this spiritual test and emerge more in love with the divine than ever. Remember, this is an advanced initiation and therefore challenging at a profound spiritual level. Therefore, get some support, and you already are. Even though you walk the path alone, another can help bear witness to your process and remind you that you are on a noble path of empowerment, love, and truth. Also, although you may feel your guidance has abandoned you, in truth, they are with you ever more closely, whispering words of encouragement, hope, and love. Look for the love within and let it guide you through the dark night. It will lead you faithfully and in perfect divine timing into the light of your sweetness morning. And here's the invocation. The dark night of the soul is love calling me into light, calling me to let go of fear, to release my every doubt, and say instead, I know that love is more real, more powerful than anything else. Always. So I accept love's power and grace, and I invite the healing presence of unconditional divine love into my heart now. Bring me the peace and spiritual blessing that I need to be freed from darkness and opened to the sweet light of love's truth. May all beings caught in darkness be assisted by unconditional love to see, feel, and know that the path of love is theirs forever. Through my own free will, so be it. Whew. Wow. Yeah, I love the imagery on the card too, Corby. You can see this woman looking up to the divine and a version of her kind of in despair down below. Very Pluto, very death and rebirth, walking through the death so we can fully appreciate our rebirth. Yeah, everybody. Wow, wow, wow. All of you. That's exactly how I feel. I had a synchronistic message from my mom yesterday. All of us connecting with people on the other side. Yeah, on point for today. Transformation. Pretty cool card pull. I love this card. What a beautiful message. Oh, happy birthday, Maribel. Happy birthday to you. We're sending you so much love and so much excitement about your next lap around the sun, what's ahead in the coming year for you. So grateful to have you here. Yes, Rachel, there is abundance in being brave in the darkness. I got that message earlier today too. All the birthday love from Maribel. Yeah. So I know a lot of us, myself included, have been walking through quite a bit of darkness, quite a bit of despair, grief, unknown, sadness, difficult emotions, difficult reflections during Mercury Retrograde. But just know this, the light is coming. We just have to walk through the darkness to fully appreciate it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your light with me, for sharing your reflections, for being honest, for being vulnerable. If you're new here, we're so excited and grateful to have you in this community. Please subscribe to the channel, support these videos coming out for free to you every weekday, and get notifications when we go live so you can join the chat. If you are one of my regulars, love you so much. So, so grateful. Sending love, light, and aloha right back to you, Rose. Yeah, I needed to hear that too. Yeah, have a beautiful day. For those of you already enrolled in transit tracking, you'll be getting an email tomorrow, I believe, with some information about the chat will start and all the information you need to know to get ready for our first meeting on Saturday. If you are not yet enrolled, you still have time. Just head to thespiritualjournalist.com/shop. It feels weird to be like, I'm not trying to sell you guys on anything right now, just an invitation to join this month-long group that we're doing where we're tracking the transits through our chart and, starting the Lunar New Year under the Aquarius new moon together with that refreshed energy. So take these next couple days, embrace the darkness, embrace the stillness, and know that the light is coming. I hope you have a transformational day too as well, Rachel. Sending so much love. You are made of love, Katie. You are absolutely made of love. All right, everybody. I will see you tomorrow morning. But until I see you next, love you all so much. Stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.